Greetings, this is Jim Lindsay. This is a CIS 320 video, and in it I'll be talking to you about content from Chapter 8 in your Visio textbook. That's the step-by-step Microsoft Visio 2013 text. And in this chapter, it's a fun chapter, we're going to cover multiple topics. Sort of this more or less kind of, I think this is the last one that we cover in the book. This is the last one we're going to have time to cover this summer. So this is our final hurrah here with Visio, and it's a good one to end with. What you'll learn here is ways to output your drawings in a variety of different formats, so that all the cool stuff that you've learned how to do in the preceding 7 chapters, you now learn how to present that to other people. So let's get into it. Let's start with the beginning of the chapter, and it wants to talk to you about different ways to preview or print your diagrams. So I have several different drawings I'm going to use in these examples, and I'll make the examples available to you through the Blackboard site. The first one I'm going to use is one that you'll recognize from the brainstorming lesson. This one is a brainstorming diagram that we created in that lesson, and so as you look at this, you'll see that this is a pretty wide drawing, and if we were to go to the file tab of the menu here and then go to print, you'll see this is actually so wide that it would print on 2 different pieces of paper. 2 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper is what it would take to print this out. Now, how would you print it through your printer? Well, you just, you would select whatever printer you're going to use, and then you would hit the print button to send it to the printer. Obviously this is going to break over 2 pages, so that's not real attractive. I want to show you that there's a way to get to save this document as a PDF document as opposed to just as a regular Visio file, and that's what you're going to do a lot, because everybody has the Adobe PDF Acrobat Reader, but not many people have the Visio program to so they're not able to open a Visio file. Now the textbook talks about a Visio viewer program that people can download, but nobody does that. I don't think I've met anybody that says, hey, I have the Visio viewer. Well, it's just kind of stupid. Instead, what people use is Adobe Acrobat Reader, and so what you want to do is output this a lot of the times as an Adobe Acrobat file. Now, you could do that from here through printing, but check this out. I'm going to do this twice. The name of this thing is brainstorming, and so I'm going to choose for my printer. One of my choices is Adobe PDF, and I didn't do anything special to get that there. That's just either part of my Windows installation or whatever. I have Adobe PDF as a choice for my printer, and I want you to see what happens when I use it. When I hit print, it's going to say OK. It's going to act like it'd be going through the process it would go through in order to get it to a printer. And let me pause it for just a minute. There he is. He's down here. I didn't see him blinking at me. It's saying, okay, where do you want to put this? I'll put it on my desktop, and it's going to name it visio-brainstorming.pdf. Okay. And it's done. And what you see when it shows you the finished document, that's a 2-page document in the Adobe PDF format, and that's pretty ugly because it's taken the drawing and it's broken into 2 different sheets of paper. I could use that. That's not ideal. Instead of that, what I would probably do is this. I would go to File, and under the File menu tab of the File tab of the ribbon, I would then go to Save As, and I'll save this one on my desktop as well. And for the Save As type, I'm going to come down here to PDF, and I'll call this Brainstorming 3, just so we have different ways to differentiate these. And there it goes. And so it's put this together as a PDF document for me. If I go to a print preview for this one, that's where I want you to really see where the rubber hits the road on this one. If I go to print, and then it shows me the preview there on an 8.5 by 11, it's basically scaled this down to where it fits on a single page. And so this would probably be a lot better output for me to send to somebody else that doesn't have Visio, because I know that they could print this out on a color piece of with a color printer and see all this stuff. I could try and go in here and manipulate this so that it was maybe on a legal size piece of paper, 8.5 by 14, to give it a little bit more, make it a little bit bigger, but that's how I would go about it. So I want to show you with printing how you get to the printing menu. That's achieved by going through the File tab of the ribbon, going to Print. It gives you a preview there showing you how many pages it's on. You choose your printer and you hit Print, and encourage you to use that option to save things as PDF documents instead of sending things as VSDX files, because that's pretty helpful. So that's the first part of this chapter. The next thing it gets into, it starts talking about ways to remove personal information from your files. That's also achieved through the backstage. This whole area of when you go to the File tab of the ribbon, this whole area is called the backstage, and there's this button you can click on to remove personal information. You're not going to do that real often. The only instance in my career where people want to remove personal information from their documents like this is when I was doing technical support for law firms, and when one law firm was sending stuff to another law firm during the discovery process, they would want to remove revisions to all the work product that they'd put together, and so they'd want to send like the final version of an affidavit or the final version of a memorandum or whatever whatever the final version was. They wanted to take all the track change stuff out, and so that's when we would remove the personal data and get that out of there. In this class, do not use this. I want to see your personal data. In fact, it's fishy. If you go in there and remove the data in this class, I start to look at you with a suspect eye, and so don't do this for this class, please. But the way you do it, you click in here, and you can also remove external data, and you hit OK, and you get rid of your data. So if you need to, that's a way to do it. But again, for this class, please don't remove your personal information. That's valuable to me as a teacher to have that information. All right. The next part of this chapter gets into a really cool part. It starts talking about ways to create graphics. So let me close this drawing. Then go to a smaller drawing, and this guy should look familiar to you. This is Big Red. I drew Big Red with the drawing tools, and I just used the freeform tool and drew his outline, drew some eyes and a mouth, and then just layered this on there and then grouped it all together. That's a bunch of Visio stuff that's been grouped. Now, when it talks about outputting images, what it's talking, or graphics, it's talking about, let's say this is a logo that you've created for your small business. You have a entrepreneurial family, and you've just created a brand new logo, and I've done that for some of my clients. Graphics work is really expensive. When you get like good graphic arts people, that's not cheap at all. And so I've done websites for people that didn't have graphics, and as part of the deal, I made some graphics for them. And granted, what I made them was not great, but Visio was a fine tool for me to create those graphics for them. And so when I was done with the Visio stuff, what I did is I output bitmaps and JPEGs and PNG files so I could use those in their websites. And so that's how I envision you guys might use this as well. So how would you do that? Well, this is basically one big shape for me because I took everything and grouped it. And let's say I want to get a JPEG. It's a JPG file. You've seen, I'm sure you've seen those and worked with those and downloaded those from the internet. And we want to create one of those. That's a raster graphic. What that means is it's built by pixels as opposed to a vector-based graphic like Visio is. And so we want to convert it from this vector-based graphic to a raster-based graphic that we could then easily put into a Word document or on a website or upload to Facebook or something like that. So how do we do that? It's achieved through the saving process. Very easy. Just go to File, and you go to Save As, and I'll just put it on the desktop, and I'll call this Big Red 2. And for the Save As type, I'm just going to use the drop-down box, and I'll come on down here to the JPG, the JPEG file interchange format, and then I'll hit save. It asks me about what color base do you want to use. I'm just going to accept the defaults. Now you've got like a background color that you can select here. I'm going to hit OK, let it do its thing, and once it's done I'll go to my desktop here, and there is that image file. And if I open up that image file in my image viewing software, I'm going to use Earth and View. This is the one I like. There's that graphic. That's that JPG file. It looks like it's about 355 pixels by 382 pixels, and that's great. I could use that in stationary, and I'm going to use that in just a moment for the next example for when we start creating our own templates. But that's how you can create an example like a JPEG. Now let me show you something else you can do with this. Let me go back to our drawing, our Visio bigred.vsdx here. And let's say you want to make something that has a transparent background. And what I mean by that, let's say you want to be able to take this image and put it on the page, and where the white space is, you want that to be transparent. So let's say if it was a blue background you put it on, you would want the it'd be blue all the way up to the edge of Big Red. And the way that you achieve that is by creating something called a PNG file and a PNG file. And when you do that, you can choose the transparent color for the background, and it's really effective. And so let me show that to you. I'm going to select Big Red again. I'm going to go to File and Save As. I'm going to I'll save it on the desktop, and I'll call this Big Red 3. And this time I'm going to save as type. I'm going to choose the PNG format, the Portable Network Graphic format. I'll hit save. And at this point it's going to say, hey, we're going to interlace it, we're going to use 24-bit color, and I get to choose a transparency color. And so I'm going to check that box, and the transparency color is going to be white. That's what I could choose something else, but I'm going to go with white because the background is white. And then I'm going to hit OK. And then I'll just go ahead and I'll save this and close it. I'm done with that file. Let me show you the resulting graphic that came out of that. It's this one right here, and you'll see that as I put the PNG next to the JPEG, you'll see that it has a clear background on my even on my desktop. Let me open this up with my image viewer, Earth and View, and you'll see there it is. Now the problem I run into with Big Red is Big Red has white eyes on a red body, so I need to put some color eye in order for that little trick to work in order of getting the transparent backgrounds. But that's really, I think, a really effective way if you're looking to get something transparent that you can put into a website or a document, easily. That's a neat way to do it. You can do that, by the way, also with all your Office products. If you're in like Microsoft PowerPoint, and you put something out there and you want to make something transparent, you can go to the design tab, go to the color options on the left side, and come down and choose a transparent color. And so that will work in those applications as well. So that's kind of cool. That's talked about in your book. There's many different formats you can output your drawings in, and 99% of the time I think you're going to use a PDF format to distribute your drawings. But if you want to put individual graphics out like we described for websites and for individual documents, that's a great way to do it. All right, next let's talk about the creation of a template. What is a template? Well, let me just open up the Visio program and go to File and New in this category here. These are all the templates, like all these different types of business drawings. You have like brainstorm diagrams, brainstorm diagramming template. There is a audit diagram template. We've used the flowcharting template. We've used the the basic diagram template. We've used floor plan templates, and so these are all the different templates, and you can create your own, and that's what they're talking to you about. Starting at page 338, and what I want to show you is how simple that is, because you may use Visio at your place of business, and you may want to create a starting point for your drawings for your company. Let me give you an example. Before we get started, note that when I start here and go to categories, there's basically everything you see is just the Visio stuff, right? Well, what you can do is create a folder for your templates that you're going to create, and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to take this and I'll close Visio. I'm going to go to my Documents folder. I'm going to File Explorer, go to Documents, and this is described in the text here, but I want to show you what it looks like. So if you go to the documents of your computer, and I've already created a folder. It's called Lindsay Templates. If you look in here, there's nothing there right now, but in my Documents folder, there's now this folder called Lindsay Templates. What I want to do in Visio, let me go back to Visio, is tell Visio where my templates are. All right, so it knows where to pull up my custom templates that I've built in addition to all the stuff that Microsoft provides. So I'm going to go to File, this Backstage area, and go to Options, and then I go to Advanced. All right, and at this point, scroll on down to the bottom of the page. At the bottom of the page, there's a File Locations button. You click on that, and you choose the template location. And because I've worked with this before, I had it there, but normally you're going to see that. And so what you do, you click on the little ellipse button, the dot dot dot, to navigate out to wherever you want your custom templates to be. So I'm going to go with this Lindsay Templates folder in my Documents folder, hit select, and I'll hit OK. Now I'll hit OK. So now what I need to do, I'll close Visio. Now what I need to do, I need to create some templates. They're VSTX files. It's Victor Sierra Tango X-Ray. Victor Sierra Tango X-Ray. It's VSTX files, and save those into that folder. And then when I start Visio up, that'll be a choice for me for that custom template. I've got one just about ready to go here. I've already started this, so I can show this to you quickly. I have a one-page document, but I've already created a background for it. And on this background, you'll see all I did was I jumped in to the I went to the Design tab, and I got a pre-built title here, and that by applying that title to this background page, it made another background page. But this is a WKU drawing. I put that little image file of Big Red that I drew, has a page number down here. So this is a background page, and you guys know how to do that. We've done that a bunch of times. If you go into the page setup, you can declare that something is a background page. That's here. And what I need to do now is just go to my page 1, go to its page setup, and I'm going to say, hey, that background is your background. So I'll use the drop-down box and tell it to use that specific page as the background. There you go. I can't modify anything on there. I want to make this the starting point for all my WKU drawings. That's what in this scenario, that's what I'm trying to do. So how do I do that? Well, I just have to save this as a VSTX file into that folder. Let me show you. I'll go to File, Save As. Where do you want to save it? I'll go to the computer here. I'm going to go to the Documents, this PC, the Documents, that Lindsay Templates folder. And I'll call this and I'm going to save as type, come to Visio Template, and it's my WKU start point VSTX. All right, hit save, and I'll close it. Now, it still says VSDX right there, right? Because that's still just a plain Visio drawing. But if I go to Visio now from the start, check this out. Go to Visio and go to File and New Category. There's now a WKU start point as one of my options. If I click on it, it starts up this document just like the one we created a moment ago. It's called Drawing 1, and I can put whatever I want to on this drawing. Now, in the VSTX file, you can also include the specific stencils you want to be included in this particular drawing. So let's say you you had some sort of home furnishings company. You may want to have a bunch of furniture stencils over here and wall stencils and stuff like that, so people could draw stuff for your home furnishing company. Or if you're in a computer company, you may want to include a bunch of computer shapes and stencils over here in the VSTX file, so when people go and open or start a new file based on that template you made, all that stuff is already there. Now if they want to get something else, no problem, they can go in here and they can do searches for they can go up here and search for whatever shapes they want or whatever stencils they want. But that is the process for creating your own template, and that's really cool. So I wanted to show that to you. Okay, our final lesson is I want to show you how to create a web drawing out of a Visio file. You can use Visio. You can basically export your file as HTML instead of as a Visio file, or instead of a PDF file. So you can put it out there in a format HTML that you could then upload to your web space, and then people could use their browser to look at your drawings. I'm going to have you guys do that. I'm going to have you guys activate your WKU web space, create a drawing or two, save it as HTML, upload it through your FTP program, put it there, and then send me the link for your drawing. I want you to know how to do this. I think it's a very practical thing to know how to do. What are we going to make HTML out of for, what drawing are we going to use for this lesson? Well, I'm going to use this brainstorming diagram that's called Page. And if you zoom in here and look at this brainstorming diagram, this will look familiar to you. This is that Humane Society diagram that we worked with earlier. It's not the one that I made, but it's the same scenario that was used. A student made this one, and you can see if we open the shapes window, that's the other thing I want to make sure we see. I'm going to open up the shape data window. Some of these shapes have shape data. For example, this particular shape has a person that's responsible for that job. John Walker is responsible for that particular fundraising task. He's supposed to start it by that date, and the rating for this one is supposed to be easy. Let's look at another couple. Here's one that Jim Johnson is supposed to complete, and it's difficult. I think there's one over here that's perhaps moderate. Maria Brown is supposed to do a task that's supposed to have moderate difficulty. And so this is a drawing that I want to output as HTML. All right, and so how do you do that? Well, it's done through the saving process. This is described for you starting on page 344 to the end of the chapter. And there's about 5 or 6 things in here that I need to mention to you, because you're going to have to do this. And also there's one little special part to it that's kind of like an extra credit kind of deal that it's frankly, it's not easy. And so if I can teach you how to do this, I'm going to be like really happy, because I'll feel like we have overachieved on it. So first, let's just get HTML out of it. That part is easy. The way you do that is you go to your, let's say this thing is completely ready to go to the web. How do you make this into HTML? All you do, go to the Backstage, which is the File tab, come down here to the Export option, and then what you're going to do is change the file type. I'm going to change the file type to a web page. It's going to make HTML, hypertext markup, out of it. And then you just hit Save As. It's going to say, okay, where do you want me to put this? I'm going to call this page.htm. I'm going to do it on my desktop, and before I do that, let me show you on the desktop there is no folder called page right now, because I want you to see that it creates 2 things. It creates an HTML file, which is the HTML, and then it makes a folder and it puts a whole bunch of stuff into that folder. So I just want you to verify for you that none of that is there right now. Okay, go into here, jump back into that export process, export, change the file type, change it to HTML, and I'll do that onto the desktop. I'll hit save, and it does that for me. There's my resulting file, and what you see is it's opened up in my browser. I use Firefox as my default browser. You get several features here. This is a multi-page document, and if I want to go to the second page of the drawing, I can choose the drop down here and then go to the second page of the drawing. There's the second page. You take a second to refresh there with the actual image. You get the ability to pan and zoom here. I go back to the diagram page, and let me show you that panning and zooming there, which is pretty cool. You get a searching ability. So let's say I'm looking for something about raffles. If I look for raffle and tell it to look, it'll say, oh, here I found some things about raffles. Click on that. It's going to go to that page for me. We got to where you can actually see the whole page. And click on that raffle again, and it actually shows you where it is. Corvette raffle, where is that? That's over there. And so it's that. This is kind of neat stuff. What it also is supposed to do is you're supposed to be able to hold down the control button and then click on shapes. Like these three shapes right here are those ones that we were looking at a moment ago that have shape data, and that shape data is supposed to show up here in the details pane. It doesn't work in Firefox, and it doesn't work in in Chrome. It's always worked in Internet Explorer until Internet Explorer 11 came out. And with Internet Explorer 11 came out, which is the current version, they basically took away the ability for the vector markup stuff to, that particular feature of the vector markup to start working. And actually some of this stuff over here doesn't work either. And so it's just ironic because this is a Microsoft product, but they took it away from the Microsoft browsers. And so you can still make it work. And that's what I want to show you next, but we'll do that last. That's kind of like the icing on the cake. This right here is I'm going to close that down. You'll see on the desktop now I have a page.html file and this folder called page_files. And these are the two things I would upload to my web space, and that's what I would give somebody a link to this HTML file. And so that's how you get your HTML created. That's the stuff that you would put into your web space, and that's what you would view in your browser. Now, that is not going to pop up automatically in somebody's browser. And in the web space lesson that you're going to view, you'll learn that the reason we call a web page the home page of a site is because that file is called home. Its name is actually HOME, home, or it can be called index. Either of those two is acceptable. But if it has the name home or it has the name index, it will automatically pop up when a browser goes to that directory. That's what I would like for you guys to get into the habit of doing. When you create HTML out of Visio, you typically want to name it index or home, and then put it in your space in a specific directory or folder. And then when people go to that folder, that home page is going to go ahead and pop up. So how would you do that in Visio? Let's go through that saving process one more time. And instead of calling it page, we're just going to call it home or index. So I'm going to go back to the Visio document, go to File, go to Save As. I'll do it on the desktop again. I'm going to make it, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. Let me cancel that. I'm going to go to the Export option, change file type, and web page, and Save As. And it brings this guy up. I want to make an HTML web page out of it, but I'm going to change the name. Instead of calling it page, I'm going to call this home, HOME. Again, index, INDEX would also be acceptable, but either one of those is what you want to call it. Hit save, goes through that process, and it creates that file for you. Now on my desktop, you will see that home.html file. I'll move that one a little bit further over here, and the home files, those two guys. So I'd upload those to my web browser, and if I were to look at that with Internet Explorer, I have to activate the Silverlight. That's the product which basically it's kind of a little platform that lets this stuff work. There's my drawing. Okay, so that's the process to create HTML, and we want to use that naming convention of home or index for our files. Please do that. Just make that your SOP, your standard operating procedure for this course anyway. And let me show you one last thing. Let me show you when I try to open that in Internet Explorer, what happens. All right, so I'm going to try and open this with Internet Explorer. It's going to say, okay, hey, you want to allow the ActiveX controls, and it just doesn't let me get that stuff on the side over here. There's the report page, but when I look at the other page, I miss all that stuff on the left side over here, which I would like to have. And so how do you get that to show up? What you do is this. Just close that up. Right at this second, I realize this is probably not going to make a tremendous amount of sense. But once you see the HTML lesson, I think it will, the web page lesson, this will start to make a little bit more sense. So if you've gotten everything up to now, you are golden. You're great. For the next 3 or 4 minutes, this is the ending here. This is just extra stuff. So please just kind of hang in there. Hopefully this is going to stick with you, because what you can do, you can take your Visio files and put those into a format so that people with Internet Explorer 11, which is going to be basically like your parents and like old people using Internet Explorer, you can make this thing work for them, okay? And so what you have to do, you just have to insert one line of code. You have to insert some an extra tag into the head section of that file. How does that work? Well, I've got a link to a website I'm going to put on the Blackboard site. When you open this page up, you can read through this if you like, but it talks about the problem, and what we're looking for is there's a specific tag in here that we want. Okay, they head faked me there. They threw like a little little login page there on how to get rid of that. This line of code right here, I'm just going to copy that one line of code. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that into the document, into what's called the head of the document. And I'm just going to minimize this window, and I'll go with the home.html version of this. I'm just going to open this file up with my notepad. This is a text editor. Every computer on the planet, I don't care how old, what brand it is, whatever, every computer on the planet has a text editor. And what that text editor is used for is creating files like what you see right here. This is HTML. You know, the cool web pages that you're used to viewing in your programs like Chrome and Firefox and Safari and Internet Explorer. What they're really doing is, what those programs are displaying for you is this text stuff, and then in the text it alludes to and it references pictures and video and stuff like that. But what it's really reading is a file like this. This is what a web page is. This is how a web page is created. So all we have to do is throw that one line in here. So I'm going to come in here and just paste that one line, and then I'll just save that file again, and I'll close it. And then this time, if I go back to that and open that with Internet Explorer again, I should see that stuff over there. So these are all those neat little features that were not showing up previously. And let me go to, because this is Internet Explorer, when I click on Control and click on that one now, those shape data properties show up in the web version, which is pretty cool. So let me come on down here. I'll show you this one. Hold down Control and click on that guy. There's John Walker. I think Maria was over here. And then we can still do all the searching. I think we were talking about raffles earlier. Come out to where we can see the page here. So you can make this, you can force the file to function. You'll see there's a little arrow showing up. You can by adding that one line of text, and I'll put that link out on the website for you. That one line of text to the head section of your HTML file, but it's just cumbersome because then you have to first make the HTML, then open the HTML file, insert it, save it, and then you would upload it to your web space. But once you do, then this thing works with Internet Explorer like it was supposed to in the first place. So that's what I've got for you. I hope that you've enjoyed this chapter. I think this is a fun one. Hopefully this stuff will be helpful for you. And hopefully this is good icing on the cake, because you've learned so much about this program, and now you know all these really cool ways to output your drawings and display those for people to look at in so many different ways. So thanks for your time and attention. Have a good day.